Wonderful. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to the Iowa Community of Practice. My name is Jessica Prejo. I'm a member of Iowa's Employment First Leadership Team and with the Iowa Coalition for Integration and Employment. Thank you to VR for their continued leadership in supporting and partnering with the Iowa Coalition for Integration and Employment to host the Community of Practice. And thank you to the DD Council for their continued leadership and investment in the Community of Practice as well. Today's webinar is going to be recorded, and we'll be sure to share that along with any materials out to the mailing list. If you want to be added to the mailing list, just shoot me a quick email. I'll be sure to share it in the chat. Don't forget, you can view the archive of previously recorded webinars dating back all the way to 2014, believe it or not, via the ICIE YouTube channel. And you can also find related materials on the IVRS website, as well as links directly to those archived videos as well. Captions are provided, and beginning today, you can view them directly within the Zoom window here by clicking the View Captions button, and then select Show Subtitles. Or you can continue to use the stream text link, which is there in the chat. And that way you can view the entire transcript there, if that's how you prefer. So I see it there. Yep, I got it there for you. So just click on that if you want the full transcript. Otherwise, hover over your control panel and click View Captions, Show Subtitles. Thank you to our captioner, Heather Johnson, and our captioning services at the Center for Inclusive Design and Innovation out of the Georgia Institute of Technology. I'd ask while LeAnn is presenting, if you wouldn't mind turning your camera off and being muted, so that way we don't have any interference or distractions. But then when we open it back up for discussion and question and answer kind of stuff, turn those cameras back on. Please share any questions, comments, reactions in the chat. We'll be sure to capture those, and then when LeAnn's ready, we'll start to address those and kind of infuse those into our discussion today. Let's see what else. So I think without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to LeAnn Moskowitz, LTSS Policy Specialist with IME, and our very favorite subject matter expert on all things employment policy and services. Take it away.
Afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm going to see if I can share my screen here with you all. Should be seeing my, let's see here. Should be seeing my screen, hopefully. All right. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Perfect. Thank you, LeAnn.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, again for having me today. So, again, I'm LeAnn Moskowitz. I'm with the Iowa Medicaid Enterprise. I'm a long-term service supports policy specialist. Manage several HCBS programs, our health home program for the state, transportation, employment, just a wide variety of LTSS programs. So today I'm going to talk about dehabilitation. The amendments to the administrative rules went into place on February 1st, 2021. And what these rule amendments do is creates a pathway to employment through utilization of dehabilitation services and the development of skills that can be translated into those skills necessary to seek employment. And so with that, we'll just get started. So our objectives for the dehabilitation rule changes was focusing on community inclusion. And so when we talk about a life in the community for everyone, and we're specifically talking about the people with disabilities that we serve, you know, we know that people with disabilities have the information, skills, and supports needed to participate in the community. We know that they're valued, respected, and active members of their community. We know that they are included in their communities and take part in activities that they choose in, and they regularly interact with others without disabilities who aren't paid staff. And so that's our goals for community inclusion for the people who we serve. And so we started on this journey about 2.5 years ago when CMS provided additional technical guidance around day habilitation. And the Center for Community Living also provided some additional clarification that day habilitation could be used to create a pathway to employment. And so being an employment first state and wanting to expand on our prior efforts of employment service redesign, we decided that we would tackle amending the rules for day habilitation. And so the technical guidance around day hab services provided by CMS talks about day habilitation, providing services and supports for activities of daily living, community living, building positive social behaviors, building interpersonal competence, building independence and personal choice, self-determination, and helping members to achieve their maximum potential. And then of course, day habilitation needs to be coordinated with any therapies that the member may be receiving, such as physical therapy, occupational therapy, speech language, that type of thing. So adding a pathway to employment. So members involved in day habilitation may engage in career planning while participating in the day hab service. And day hab is allowed as a wraparound support for people who are either competitively employed or who are seeking employment. So community inclusion and community employment are really intertwined. And if you think about those skills that folks work on and the goals that people have for their day habilitation services, those same skills, experiences, and activities can also translate into those needed skills and knowledge and experiences that one might need to seek employment in the community. And so community inclusion or community life engagement activities, also known as day habilitation, can lead to employment through career exploration, finding out what's in the community, what is available in the community as far as industry, service, those types of things, and networking, building relationships in the community through the experiences that folks have with day hab can also facilitate employment for folks. So day hab is also used for a wraparound for employment for those individuals who need a full, meaningful day when they're not working. And so it can be used to close gaps in care, to provide new experiences to folks, and increase social connection and opportunities for developing relationships, friendships, those types of things. And it also supports people in integrated retirement. And so there was some questions around, people wanting to work, and if they don't want to work, are they no longer eligible for day hab? And the answer is no, they're still eligible for day hab. Day hab does not replace traditional employment services and supports, and day hab is still expected to support people in providing those wraparound supports, providing meaningful day, as well as supporting people in their retirement. So I have a frequently asked question document that I'll go through when I get done with the presentation to try and answer some of the questions that have been received from you all ahead of time. So expected outcome of the day habilitation services is active participation in the community in which the member lives, works, and recreates. And so if you think about the HCBS settings rules and all of the HCBS that a person receives must be delivered in an integrated community-based setting. And so we retooled the outcome to really clearly articulate the expectation that day hab's happening in integrated community settings and not in a segregated setting. So members are expected to have opportunities to interact with people without disabilities and to interact with people who aren't being paid to interact with them, to the same extent that other people in the community have the opportunity for. And so again, a life in the community for everyone. Day habilitation is intended to assist people to become as independent as possible within their communities. So service improvements. So we did clarify day habilitation services may provide a pathway to employment, and this is through the ID waiver day hab service or the state plan HCBS habilitation day hab service. We also, as part of these rule changes, clarified a broad scope of activities that may be provided through the day habilitation service to help members participate in the community, develop social roles and relationships, and increase their independence and potential for employment. One thing you'll notice with these rules is that we really modernized the language and really looked at using person-first language and focusing on the member. We also added minimum training requirements for direct support staff providing day hab services, because we want to ensure, and we make assurances to the federal government, CMS, that members are served by confident, competent staff. And so we have introduced a minimum staffing requirements in these rule changes for staff delivering direct support services. So for the minimum training requirements, we expect that anyone who is providing day habilitation without direct line of sight supervision to be 18 years old and have a high school diploma, it's equivalent. And a person who is 16 or 17 working in the day habilitation program, perhaps after school, maybe during the summer, they need to be providing day habilitation within line of sight supervision. And then of course, a person providing direct support shall not be a immediate family member of the member. Again, there's some conflict of interest that arises out of a family member being a direct service provider. So minimum training requirements. So for a person providing direct support shall within 6 months of hire or 6 months of this rule, complete at least 9.5 hours of training in supporting members in activities listed in the administrative rule, and as they're offered through direct course, Relias, or other nationally recognized training curriculum. And so there are a number of really good day habilitation program models out there that offer pre-scripted curriculums for staff to receive training related to participating and delivering those day habilitation services. So we wanted to make sure that there was some consistency in how day habilitation staff are receiving training, and that the training content and material has been reviewed and vetted and utilized by other professionals in the field. And then annually thereafter, we expect direct support professionals to participate in a minimum of 4 hours of continuing education related to those same activities and services listed in administrative rule. So while we haven't provided specific courses or course titles that staff need to participate in, we would expect to see in the staff's training file that they had participated in training related to those day habilitation activities. So direct support staff training provided in the delivery of day habilitation service may also be counted towards the training requirements for supported employment or pre-vocational services when the training material is equally applicable to the skills required for the service delivery. And so if you are, if you're direct care staff, a direct support professional, and you're participating in, say, training on motivational and interviewing, that directly relates to helping the member to explore their interests and preferences. And so that translates into how do you want to spend your time in the DayHab program, can also be translated to what do you want to do for employment if you're a job seeker. And so some of the training that staff may participate in can be equally applicable to both supported employment, pre-voc, or and/or day habilitation. So I just want to put that out there that they're not mutually exclusive. However, we would not expect to see all of the training for day habilitation also being recognized for supported employment. But we do want to recognize that there may be a few courses that transfer to both services. So DayHab provider qualifications, we did not change the qualifications. Of course, to be a day habilitation provider, you have to be accredited by a nationally recognized accreditation body, or be accredited by MHDS under Chapter 24 regulations. So these are the same requirements that providers are expected to meet today. For the day habilitation service definition, again, we reworded these scope of service and definitions to be more person-centered and to really focus on life in the community. And so DayHab means services that provide opportunities and support for community inclusion, building interest in and developing skills for active participation in recreation, volunteerism, and integrated community employment. Day habilitation provides assistance with retention or improvement of socialization, community, and daily activity living skills. DayHab may not replace or duplicate vocational or educational services that are the responsibility of vocational rehabilitation services or the Department of Education. That is a federal requirement that we have to include in all of our employment and day programming services. This cannot duplicate a service that is expected to be delivered or provided by another federally funded entity. DayHab does not duplicate or replace services and supports to obtain employment through HCBS supported employment or through the employment supports and services that a member would receive through Iowa Vocational Rehabilitation Services. Day habilitation is intended to cultivate interest and provide experiences that may lead to employment. And I always like to go back to the example of a day habilitation program. I believe it's in Glidden or Jefferson, serving members, and part of their time spent in day habilitation was spent volunteering for a local not-for-profit organization. And after about 6 months of, frequently volunteering, at least on a weekly or more frequent basis, the not-for-profit agency actually offered one of the volunteers in the day habilitation program a job. And so through that volunteer experience, through the relationship that was developed through that volunteer experience, the member found something that they were really passionate about and really enjoyed. And the not-for-profit agency found an employee that was enthusiastic and willing to work and was willing to do it for free, but was super ecstatic that they were offered a paid position within their company. So it's opportunities like that for people that we're hoping that will arise out of time spent in the day habilitation program. And again, the expectation is not that people participating in DayHab want to work like pre-voc. If you're in pre-voc, you must have a goal for employment. folks in DAHAB may not necessarily have a goal for employment. Maybe no one's ever talked to them about employment. Maybe no one's ever encouraged them towards employment. Maybe no one has ever helped them to realize what they bring to the table as a potential employee. And so it's those experiences that folks will receive through the Dehabilitation service that could be leveraged into potential opportunities for employment. Building skills in the community are also very transferable to the skills I might need to seek and obtain employment. So, whoops, went back the wrong way, excuse me. So dehabilitation activities and environments are designed to foster the acquisition of skills, positive social behavior, greater independence, and personal choice. Services focus on supporting the member to participate in the community, develop those social roles and relationships, and increase their independence, and thereby increasing their potential for employment. Services are designed to assist the member to attain or maintain their individual goals as identified in their comprehensive person-centered service plan. And the services, of course, may also provide that wraparound support secondary to community employment. And I talked a little bit ago about those folks who need a full, meaningful day, either for health, safety, socialization reasons, what have you, and DAHAB may fill in those gaps when someone's not working. So dehabilitation activities may include, and you'll notice with the language for these activities, we've really focused on that community integration piece. We've really focused on those activities that will help foster independence and personal choice, self-advocacy, those types of things. So activities can include identifying the member's interests, preferences, and skills, strengths, and contributions. It could be, you know, looking at a person-centered vision board. You know, what do I like to do? How do I like to spend my time? What kind of people do I like to hang out with? What are my hobbies? What are my personal interests? Those types of things to really hone in on how the member wants to spend their time in dehabilitation. Well, that same conversation can also be leveraged to perhaps cultivate interest in employment. You know, if we could all find jobs doing things that we're passionate about and that we love to do, you know, we'd all be happier people. And so, you know, part of those skills that and that part of that exploration and finding out what you like and what you don't like can also be meaningful when a person decides they might be interested in employment. Identifying conditions and supports necessary for full community inclusion and potential for competitive employment. You know, does the person know how to navigate their community? Do they know how to use public transportation? Do they have, you know, relationships already established in the community? Are they part of a club, part of groups, part of a civic organization? Those types of things. And what type of support does somebody need? Do they need assistive devices? Do they need communication devices? Do they need, you know, alternative schedules? You know, how can this person's needs be met to fully engage that person in a life in the community? Planning and coordinating to the members individualized daily and weekly DAHAB schedule. Again, talking about scheduling for a specific service and learning how to schedule and plan my time is also very applicable to the employment world. Excuse me. Planning and developing skills and competencies necessary to pursue competitive integrated employment. So, you know, socialization, what are, you know, socially appropriate behaviors in the community? How do I greet people in the community? How do I, you know, strike up a conversation when I'm out in the community? how do I seek assistance from others in the community that isn't a paid staff person? Also, again, the scheduling, the developing interest, the being able to express interest, being able to communicate what my goals are, being able to identify what my interests are, how I want to spend my time. Time management skills are really important. Again, the schedules, those types of skills that can really translate into competitive integrated employment. And I'm sure you all can think of a lot of other things that you do in DAHAB with folks that might be transferable into skills that I might need if I'm seeking employment. So participating in community activities related to hobbies, leisure, personal health, and wellness. Again, having those experiences that could also help me develop some thoughts and opinions around employment, and are there jobs out there related to how I like to spend my time? If I really like to spend time talking with folks and providing a service, is there a job, or opportunity maybe for volunteering in a local not-for-profit nursing home or some other not-for-profit organization, maybe a church? Is there a gym in the neighborhood? Is there maybe an exercise class that I want to participate in? Do I want to learn more about health and wellness? Do I want to learn more about nutrition? And are there classes that I could take? Those types of things. Participating in community activities related to cultural, civic, and religious interests. Am I registered to vote? Do I know how to vote? Do I know where to vote? Am I a member of a church? Am I actively engaged in the church? Do I know how to get to church? Do I know when services are scheduled? Do I know if they offer any classes, Bible study or a book club or something like that? Is that something that I'm interested in? Is that something that the Dehabilitation program could help me explore in my community? Participating in adult learning opportunities, again, could be, I want to get my driver's license. I don't have my driver's license. Can the Dehabilitation provider help me find a driver's ed class that I could sign up for? Could they help me pursue that? Are there classes that I want to take? Do I want to learn how to write a resume or maybe do a video resume? Do I want to learn how to maybe use social media or send emails, or learn how to use an Excel spreadsheet and a pivot table, God forbid. So are there things that I as an adult would like to spend my time doing, and are there opportunities for me to do those things while participating in DAHAB? Volunteer opportunities is always a good one. Volunteer opportunities provide, rich ground. I gave that example for the woman who was participating in a Dehabilitation program that led to employment. So volunteer opportunities, not only do they help people create those social relationships and ties to the community, but they also can be build some very important skills that, again, can translate into looking for and obtaining employment. Training and education and self-advocacy. How do I advocate for myself? What does that mean? What does that look like? Am I involved in any type of community organization? Am I, interested in any type of legislation? Do I go to the Hill Day? Those types of things. Am I aware about how to become more knowledgeable about what's happening in my community? Self-determination, again, making choice, being encouraged to make choices, learning what choices may be available to me for whole host of things. Including where to live, work, and recreate. Assistance with behavior management and self-regulation. Again, we know that oftentimes people need dehabilitation support during the day to provide that meaningful day, to provide them with that protective oversight, supervision, and skill development. And so, you know, if folks have challenges with antisocial behavior, with behavior that impairs their ability to participate fully in the community, then what are we doing to help support that person so that they can be more independent, so that they can develop those self-regulation skills, so that they can recognize their stressors and intervene early before things escalate. So it's helping a member to recognize their own challenges and then putting in those coping skills and mitigation measures to help the member become more independent and be able to communicate their wants and needs more effectively. So using transportation and other community resources, that's so important. Without transportation, you know, it's really hard to have a life in the community. And so if a member does have public transportation in their community, do they know how to use it? Do they know where to find the bus schedules? Do they know how to call for a taxi? Do they have a friend that you know, they can turn towards when they need transportation supports, those kinds of things. Learning how to access other community resources. Do they know how to use the library? Do they know where the library is? Do they you know how to, you know, what kinds of services are available to them through their post office? Do they know how to send packages, letters, those types of things? So just really, again, helping that person to navigate their community and develop as much independence in doing those things in the community as possible. Assistance identifying and using natural supports. I talked about the neighbor. Maybe you have a friend that you could ride to day program with. Maybe there's somebody in the community that you could get a ride to and from church with, those types of things. Are there other natural supports? Is the person already working? Do they have a coworker that's a source of natural support for the person? You know, helping the member recognize their circle of support, you know, so having a conversation with them about who is in your circle support. When you need help, who do you call? If you need a ride, who do you call? If you know, something happens in your home, do you know what to do? Do you know who to call? Do you have people in your life that you can turn to help you that perhaps aren't paid staff? Assistance accessing financial literacy and benefits education, you know, having a basic conversation about money and money management. Do you have a checking account? Do you have a savings account? Have you ever wanted one? Do you know what to do to open one? Does somebody else manage your money for you? Would you like to learn how to manage your own money? Those types of things. Do you know how to budget? Do you have income that you need to budget? Those types of things. And just, it's basic. It's not, you know, full on benefits counseling like you would receive through Voc Rehab or through the work incentives program. It's do you have a checking account? Do you have a savings account? Do you know how to manage your finances? Would you like to learn? It could be just providing a simple budgeting 101 or a finance, you know, 101 class with folks who are interested in those kinds of things. And other activities deemed necessary to assist the member in full participation in the community, develop social roles and relationships, and increase independence and the potential for employment. And this is very similar to language that we included in the supported employment rules, where we said the other activities related to obtaining and maintaining integrated competitive employment. And so we wanted this one here because, we couldn't think of every last activity or every type of opportunity that might come across for a person participating in DAHAB and include those in administrative rule. And so we wanted to make sure that we included those other DAHAB activities that are necessary to really help the person fully engage in the community. So Dehabilitation also has the family training option, and this has been a piece of the ID waiver Dehabilitation program. I don't think it's used very often, but it is available. And so this is a service where the Dehabilitation program may go out and do training in the treatment and support methodologies or in the care and use of equipment with a member's family. So maybe I just got a brand new communication device. The speech language pathologist came in and trained our Dehabilitation staff on how to use it, how to help the member add more words or phrases or preferred words or phrases, favorite things into the communication device. And so then the family could go out, or the DAHAB provider could go out to the member's home and work with the family. The family training option service component is the only time that DAHAB may be provided in the member's home, with the exception of COVID, of course. So during COVID, public health emergency, we are allowing Dehabilitation to occur in the member's home or via video conferencing, Zoom, what have you, as long as it's clinically appropriate to meet the member's needs. So that mode of service delivery must be compatible with the goals identified in the member's comprehensive service plan and must be compatible for the member's needs. So if you have a member that requires a lot of maybe hand-over-hand assistance, visual cues, those types of things to, participate, video conferencing probably isn't the mode that's going to meet their needs, but it could be. Again, that's something that needs to be discussed with the interdisciplinary team members, and then it should be documented in the member's comprehensive service plan that for the duration of the public health emergency, or for, while the member is at increased risk, or until the member has been vaccinated, whatever the criteria is, that the member will be participating in Dehabilitation remotely, and then talk about what that looks like in the service plan. So the units of service aren't changing for DAHAB. We still have the 15-minute unit of service, and we still have the full day. And then transportation. I want to talk a little bit about transportation, because this is one that seems to be, people struggle with it. And so transportation may be provided as a component of Dehabilitation service. So when the DAHAB provider offers transportation to and from the member's home and to and from the Dehabilitation, centralized location, we meet at the center at 9 o'clock every morning or what have you, the DAHAB provider may bill for time spent transporting the member as part of the DAHAB units of service that are being billed. And so I have a couple examples in my FAQ that I will cover with you all here in a minute. And so concurrent services, it's also important to know that people may have multiple habilitative services in their comprehensive person-centered service plan. So I may be authorized for Dehabilitation, and I may also be, receiving employment supports at the same time, like long-term job coaching or small group employment. I might also be participating in career exploration through pre-vocational services. So there is no limit on the type of non-residential habilitation services that I may receive within my comprehensive person-centered service plan. The caveat is that those services cannot be billed for the same time on the same date of service. And so it has to, there needs to be communication of how those services are occurring. The comprehensive person-centered service plan should clearly outline the services that people are participating in, the goals that they have related to those services, dates, days of the week that we're going to participate, the times that we're going to participate, that type of thing, so that everybody's on the same page. Exclusions, again, I talked a little bit about these earlier. These are federal requirements, services that are available under the Rehabilitation Act or through the Individuals with Disabilities Act. Those services cannot, DAHAB cannot replace those required services. So if a member's in school and they have an IEP, then they're expected to get those services through the school. If the member is receiving services through IVRS, of course, DAHAB is not duplicating any employment services. So standard language. We also can't pay members to participate in Dahabilitation, and we can't support members to volunteer in for-profit organizations or businesses. And again, that's because we don't want members, being used as unpaid employees in those businesses, whereas they would, typically be required to hire somebody. And then, of course, we don't want to build little, volunteer programs within the Dahabilitation providers organization if those activities would typically be done by a paid person. The Dahabilitation program should not be benefiting from the member's volunteerism and also getting paid to support the member in that volunteerism. It just feels inappropriate. So administrative rules. So here are the links to the administrative rules. So we've got 77.25. Again, those are your provider qualifications. That's where you'll find the staff training criteria, as well as the standards and requirements for providers who want to enroll to deliver Dahabilitation services. And then Chapter 78, of course, that is the scope, duration, and amount of services. That's where you'll find the service definitions, the outcome of the service, the setting where the service can be delivered, units of service described, and then the reimbursement methodology is in Chapter 79, and all of the upper rate limits for HCBS waiver services and HCBS habilitation services are found at 79.1 subparent 2. So questions. I've got a whole host of questions that came in prior, and so I'll just kind of go through these, and then I'll hopefully get through them pretty quick, and then I'll take any additional questions that you all have. So the first one is related to provider qualifications. Just so you all know, I'm developing a FAQ that I'll send out to the coalition to share with you all, and that will also be posting on the HCBS webpage for IME. So the first question that I have is, if a DAHAB program currently employs a direct support professional that is over 18 years of age, but does not have a high school diploma or its equivalent, does this mean that the person can no longer provide Dahabilitation services without direct line of sight supervision? The rules became effective February 1st, 2021. So if a Dahabilitation program currently employs a direct support professional, it does not have their high school diploma or its equivalent, that person must provide services within direct line of sight supervision. However, providers may request an exception to policy and ask the department to waive that requirement for a specific employee. I will provide the link to requesting an exception to policy in the FAQ. And so if you are a provider that it has someone currently employed that is in this status, and you want to, for them to be able to continue to work independently without direct line of sight supervision, then you'll want to ask for an exception to policy from the department. And when you submit that exception to policy, you're going to ask for the exception of policy for to waive the rule for a specific employee. And then you'll tell us what the employee's role is, any experience that they have, what the trainings they've received, so that the department can make a determination on whether or not we're going to waive that criteria. So the next question is, do the changes to the Dehabilitation scope of service mean that Dehabilitation providers can now provide employment services to HCBS members? The answer to that is no. Dehabilitation does not replace pre-vocational services or supported employment or employment services that someone would receive through IVRS. Dehab may provide a pathway to employment by cultivating interest and providing experiences that may lead to employment. It is not, I repeat, it is not an employment service. I had to make that perfectly clear to the feds. And so I want to make it perfectly clear to everybody on this call that it is not an employment service. If a member is not interested in working, does this mean they can't participate in Dehab services? Nope, they can continue to participate in Dehab services. Dehab activities and environments, of course, are designed to foster the acquisition of skills, positive social behavior, greater independence, and personal choice. Those services need to focus on members participating in the community, developing those roles, those relationships, increasing their independence. Members do not have to express an interest in employment to participate in Dehab. Dehab is just perhaps a stepping stone on the way to employment for those folks who do want to find employment, but it's not an employment service. So how big of a group can go and do activities in the community for it to be considered not inclusive? Well, we have not limited the size of member groupings within the Dehabilitation rules. However, with all HCBS, the member's experience must be designed to assist the member to obtain and maintain the member's individual goals identified in their comprehensive person-centered service plan. Groupings should be such that they encourage and support the member to be as independent as possible. And so the last thing we want to see is a great big huge group of people with disabilities going out in one great big huge activity. What does that do? That stigmatizes the person. It minimizes their ability to interact with people out in the community and build those social relationships in the community, as well as increasing that sense of independence. And so you may very well take groupings out into the community. People may have similar interests. You may say, hey, Wednesday, we're going to the library. Who wants to go to the library? And so as you're organizing those activities, you really need to be mindful of the visual aspect that you have of a large group of people going out together the same time with paid staff to do the same thing. And think about the optics related to that, and then think about what that does to the member's opportunity to interact with the public at large. And so I would just be very mindful when you think about community integration. You think about your own personal choices. There's very few of us who, get together with a group of people and go out and do something unless it's a party for somebody or a planned, events and those type of things. And typically we all kind of arrive by ourselves, meet up, and then leave by ourselves again, right? And so we have to think about those same things for the folks that we're supporting, and how can we really help them have a genuine experience and opportunity to build relationships in the community. And those large groups just aren't conducive to those things. So let's see here. Can you give examples of activities that are adequate for the changes in the programs? And so I really, I've talked a lot about different activities. And so again, I just encourage you all to look at that list of activities. They're in the slide deck. They're also in the rule link. And think about, there aren't a lot of things that you couldn't do within the DAHAB program that really help support somebody to be fully inclusive in the community. And so, it's really hard to just give you an all-inclusive list when, each person is so different and their interests are so different. And we really want to be focused on the individual, and each person's DAHAB experience may look just a little bit different from the next. So when transportation is provided to and from the member's home to DAHAB by the DAHAB provider may bill for the time spent transporting the member. Does this mean that the time is included in the DAHAB services being provided? That is correct. So if the DAHAB provider picks the member up at the member's residence at 8:45 to transport to the DAHAB service location, and then transports the member back home from say 3:30 to 3:45, the Habilitation provider would enter 8:45 as the start time on that service documentation, and the end time would be 3:45 on that service documentation, and they would bill for the number of units for that day that is inclusive of that time spent. So when the DAHAB provider is responsible for providing the member's transportation to and from DAHAB, this support must be noted as a support to be provided by the DAHAB provider in the member's comprehensive person-centered service plan. And so you really want to ensure that the IDT is addressing how that member's transportation service needs are being met. And it should be especially important if that person's getting an ID waiver daily SCL, because then transportation is handled differently for those folks. So, which leads to the next question. If a DAHAB provider chooses to offer this service to attendees and they live in a 24-hour SCL environment, the residential provider would have to compensate the DAHAB provider for the service, correct? And so, response is, when a member is receiving daily supported community living SCL under the ID waiver, the ID waiver daily SCL provider is responsible for meeting the member's transportation needs as identified in their comprehensive service plan. The cost of transportation is included in that daily SCL rate paid to the daily ID waiver SCL provider. If the SCL provider is unable to provide the transportation for whatever reason, they're still responsible for ensuring the provision of transportation. It could include buying the member a bus pass, hiring a taxi for the member, paying a neighbor to provide the rides, or entering into agreement with a DAHAB provider to deliver that transportation. And when that happens, the agreement that is entered into between the DAHAB provider and the daily SCL provider, that time is not documented as Medicaid billable DAHAB time, because the funder of that transportation time is that SCL provider, right? And so the billing for DAHAB then would not start until the member arrives, and it would end when the member departs the centralized location or the community location where the service is occurring. So the next question, so for members who live on their own or at home with their parents, this is just a service the DAHAB provider can choose to offer, is that correct? Oops, I just closed my thing, sorry. And so, yeah, the DAHAB provider may offer to provide transportation as part of the service if the member does not otherwise have access to transportation. Again, when the DAHAB provider is responsible for providing that transportation, taking the member to and from their home to the day program site, that must be documented in the comprehensive person-centered service plan, and the day hab provider can claim that time as day hab billable time for that member. Let's see, are there any other requirements the day hab provider would have to meet in order to provide transportation? So the day hab provider, of course, is required to have the appropriate insurance coverage, safety equipment, training to meet members' needs during transport, and then of course any other applicable Department of Transportation rules that are applicable to the mode of transportation. So if you're a day hab provider that operates like a 15-passenger bus, then DOT has some specific requirements around those services being delivered. The day hab provider should also maintain a mileage log for all transportation provided, whether they're doing it under an agreement with an SCL provider, they're doing it as part of the service, or some other means. So you should always keep a documentation of what you're doing, regardless of who the funder is. So those are the questions that I have. Do you have others?
We sure do. I tried to.
Got 3 minutes.
I know. Well, and we might be a little bit longer. It looks like most folks are
okay.
staying on. So, right. So
Okay.
if you're okay with it, I will too.
All right.
I tried to filter these a bit. Okay. So do you have to have separate goals for day hab and employment if the work being addressed in day hab relates more to exploratory activities? Can you talk about how these goals might be worded to ensure that there's not crossing over into supported employment?
Well, again, yes, a member has to have goals related to the service that they're receiving. So what is my purpose of participating in day hab? Why am I participating in day hab? What are my goals related to that? And then for employment, why am I receiving this employment support? What are the goals related to employment? Do I want to find a job, or do I want to increase my hours? Do I want to find alternative employment that offers me better wages and benefits? What are my goals? And so you have to think about, why do I need the service? What is the need for the service? And then those goals should be related to my need for the service. And so again, day hab is not an employment service. Day hab is intended to provide experiences and opportunities for folks, but it does not replace those traditional day hab services. So I would not expect to see, I want a job as a goal for day hab. What I would expect to see as potential goal for day hab is, I want to increase the relationships that I have with people in my community, or I want to be able to ride the bus independently. I want to learn how to cook a basic meal. Maybe I take a cooking class with day hab. Now, employment goals look differently. I want a job that will offer me 40 hours a week. I want a job making $12 or $15 an hour. I want a job working with animals because I just love animals. Those kinds of things are employment related goals. And so again, I shouldn't see the same kind of goals under employment as I would see under day hab, because the intent of my participation in the service is different.
Right.
Does that help?
I think so. And this ties into the next question, which I think is kind of just a nuance of that, which is, can you comment on acceptable use of employment focused skill building in day hab? And then a similar question just came in the chat. What about learning specific skills in day hab that would be required or used in a job that they're interested in? And I think right.
And so again, it's not employment focused skills. It's focusing on those skills that are necessary to become employed, right? So there's a difference. And so communication skills, how are my communication skills? How are my social skills? Do I interact appropriately with people in public? Do I need to learn how to greet and strike up a conversation with folks. Can I manage my time? Do I know when the bus comes? Do I know when to get back on it? You know, those types of things. Do I know where to meet the bus? So it's, again, DAHAB is not intended to provide those services and supports that we get under our employment services. It's intended, again, through the services and supports we get through DAHAB that might cultivate that interest in employment. It might cause somebody to say, God, I'd love to do a job like that. I'd love to have a job. You know, I really enjoy my volunteer work at the ARL. Do you think maybe you could help me get a job there? You know, and then we'll say, well, I can't, but I can refer, you know, well, let's connect you with your case manager and get you referred on to employment services and supports that can, right? So a DAHAB provider isn't going to help somebody find a job, you know, but an activity that the person participate in during DAHAB may lead to a job offer. Never know. So
the following questions are related to training. So can you use the community of practice as part of the training requirements? The rules mention that they need to be nationally recognized. So do community of practice trainings related to supported employment count towards DAHAB training?
Well, it would depend. So if we have a nationally recognized SME presenting on a topic that's applicable to DAHAB, sure, I think it could. You know, it just kind of depends. We really wanted to ensure that, you know, the training and the curriculum that staff are participating in has been vetted. And so, you know, at the time, and I still think, you know, I think most providers have opportunities to access College of Direct Supports or Relias either through the MCO or through the provider association. And so that's why we included that language in there. But again, if there's other nationally recognized subject matter experts or, you know, training curricula that comes down through the community of practice, I think that's perfectly acceptable.
Okay. And folks just wanted to make sure that all HCBS specialists were apprised of these, of this guidance, I guess is what it is, particularly around like what's acceptable trainings and what is not. Would the job coach module be acceptable as the course is applicable for DAHAB? So can job coaching count for DAHAB training?
So again, I would not think that all of the courses that you would receive to become a job coach would be applicable to the activities under DAHAB, but there may be some. And where they are equally applicable, then they would be recognized. But if you are, you know, interacting with employers and you're training your staff on how to interact with employers in the community, that's really not applicable to DAHAB and wouldn't be recognized.
Right. Maybe systematic instruction might be though?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Good example, Jess.
Right. If a staff met the requirement for the 9.5 hours prior to the rule going into effect, would they need to complete 9.5 hours again? Or do they just continue on with the 4-hour ongoing training requirement?
They would continue on with the annual training requirement. Yep. And so if they already have, if they've got, you know, in the last year, they've gotten 9.5 hours of training, and that's evident in the employee file, then we would recognize that and just say, okay, well, during the next year, you need to get 4 hours in.
Right, and that answers the next question. 9.5 is required of the first year and 4 for continuing ed. It's not 9.5 plus 4 for the first year.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, is there a place online that folks can go to see who their local DAHAB providers are? So
yes, you can go out to the DHS Find a Provider website. And I can send that link out. I can put that in here too. But under the fee-for-service DHS Find a Provider web page, if you go in and you put in HCBS in the first box choice, and then you choose which program and which service you're looking for. That should bring you up a fulsome list of all the DayHab providers, you'll need to look at either under habilitation or under the ID waiver.
Perfect. If an adult member wants to be involved with DayHab to have supervision while their caretaker works during the day, would that be allowed? Or does that require an exception to policy? Meaning,
Nope.
what do parents do if they want to provide a safe and inclusive place for members to go during the day? So
they talk to the case manager about looking at dehabilitation services to meet that need.
perfect. CRPs used to struggle to get discovery authorized through VR because the thought was that if a person was already in a service with a CRP, like DayHab, that they should already know the individual. Are there any concerns being expressed that that might be an issue that arises again?
I'm not concerned about that. I have not heard that concern. I think that, the discovery activities that are done through VR are very specific and it's a vetted process of discovery for folks. And so it's different than identifying what somebody's hobbies, preferences, and likes and dislikes are. So I don't have a concern on that. I think that if people are encountering that concern from their VR counselor, that we probably need to reach out to Vienna to get some clarification. But I'm personally not concerned about that.
I agree, and I just want to echo as a part of the discovery pilots happening in the state right now that it's a distinctive service with distinctive outcomes that include 3 confirmed vocational themes, a vocational profile, and some kind of representational material or visual resume, along with a list of 60 businesses tied to those verified themes that provide those next steps to customize job development. So I just want to echo that, and again, that there's resources that can help clarify on that. And if somebody is being served by a CRP and has a history with them, I think that's great, and they have a lot of great information and context that they can help share related to the process. But discovery happens in different environments that aren't group, that aren't provider or facility based, and it's a very individualized service. Couple more here. I think we're on a roll. We know that a number of folks who were in pre-vocational services were shifted into DayHab for a number of reasons, not necessarily because the individual didn't want to work. How might the new rules support reconnecting with those individuals around exploring employment options and preparation?
So I think it's kind of what I've said before. It's how you tailor those experiences and opportunities within DayHab, and asking the person, what do you like to do? How do you like to spend your time? Would you like to have a job doing that? If the person says yes, then say, hey, would you like to participate in career exploration? Have you thought about working with a employment specialist to start looking for a job? Those kinds of things, to have that conversation. And if the person is affirmative and says, yeah, I think I would like to do a job, well, let's call the case manager and let's start looking at how do we get some employment supports going for you? How do we get you, involved in career exploration? Is that something we offer? Or, do we need to help the case manager make referrals to another provider who could offer that career exploration support? So I think, again, having that conversation and then help steering the member in the right direction.
More questions around transportation. Sorry, these seem nuanced to me, so I'll just ask them. A person lives in a 24-hour supervised home, and they also receive DayHab through that same provider. If the provider's transportation department provides that transportation to DayHab and not the DayHab staff, does the time count as billable DayHab time?
No, if it's the HCBS, if it's being provided as an HCBS transportation service, as a standalone transportation service under the ID waiver, because HAB doesn't have transportation as a standalone service. So if the member is not in daily SEL, living in a residential setting, needing transportation, the day hab provider can provide the transportation, or HCBS waiver transportation can be authorized for the member to provide that transportation, as long as they're not getting daily SCL. So if the SCL provider and the day hab provider are the same, and the member isn't getting a daily rate, then the day hab provider could include that in time transporting. There would need to be really good communication between the SCL provider and the day hab provider. You know, my service documentation ends at 8:45, yours starts at 8:45 kind of thing. You know, so there's not that overlap. So again, if it's the same provider, it's important that that communication happens, as well as if it's, you know, somebody living, you know, and getting intermittent SCL in the community. Again, ensuring there's not that overlap, ensuring that communication. If I pick you up at 8:45, that's when your service note stops and mine starts, you know, kind of thing.
Yes. For clarification, are you saying that they have basic skills that can translate into employment for someone who wants to work, and then specific vocational skills would be supported employment goals when the person actually has the job?
The person doesn't have to have a job to have the goals of employment.
Right, yeah.
So a person could be actively seeking employment to have employment goals. I could be actively seeking employment working with an individual, or working with a employment specialist, certified employment specialist, under individualized supported employment, and still be participating in day hab, providing me with that meaningful day, and providing with the support that I need, and maybe until I do find a job and become employed. So I'm not sure I'm answering the question properly, or maybe not understanding the question.
Right. We'll see if we get additional question related to that. I see. So another question is, we are struggling with COVID restriction and just getting out into the community. What suggestions do you have to bridge that gap?
Well, again, I think follow the CDC guidelines. You know, we know that here in Iowa that our governor has opened everything up. We know that the CDC still recommends social distancing and masking and, you know, proper hygiene. And so I think you have to take all of those things into consideration when trying to engage people in the community. Is the member at high risk? Are they in a higher risk group? Or do they, you know, have medically complex needs that, you know, again, you have to look at each person and what does the person want? What is the person's choice? And how do we honor that? How is that documented in the person's service plan? And what does that translate into our operations as a program? You know, what are your hygiene practices? What are your mask requirements for your participants? What have you communicated to members and their families or their, you know, guardians on activities in the community? And again, it's going to be different for each person. You may serve somebody where their family says, oh, heck no, they're not going anywhere. You know, they can come to a centralized location, but you're not taking them out in public, you know. Okay. Again, that's okay as long as it's documented. Again, we want to make sure members have choice. We want to make sure that they have informed choice. And we want to make sure that if we're applying any restrictions on that member out of an abundance of caution related to the public health emergency, you know, we know it's hard on providers to try and navigate this and serve people and keep them safe. And we get that, but that doesn't give anybody any right to violate a person's rights or to ignore a person's rights to choice and self-determination. And so again, talk about it, communicate, and document. You know, the department is never going to tell an organization what kind of policies and procedures they need to have to run their organization safely during a public health emergency. We're just not. You know, CDC has provided the guidelines. We expect the providers to follow the guidelines. And again, respect members' choice. and respect the member enough to have the conversation with them and then to document it.
Okay, last one ish. LeAnn, can you please clarify about the supervision question that came up? I was always under the impression that DAHAB could not be for supervision. And this relates to that question about a member who wants to be involved in order to have supervision while their caretaker is at work during the day.
Yep. There would have to be skills though. You can't just, DAHAB is to help people, obtain a skill, maintain a skill, maybe develop new skills. And so what skills is that person lacking that requires them to have that supervision and support? Is it because they're not safe? Is it because they don't make good, safe choices? Is it because they are a vulnerable person and at high risk of being taken advantage of, or maybe engaging in unsafe behavior when someone isn't there to assist them? And so think about how does that translate into the day habilitation service? So my day habilitation goal might be that I want to be independent. I want to be able to navigate my community independently. Well, I can't do that if I need supervision during the day, right? So what does that translate into? That translates into I'll respect, myself, I'll respect others, I'll, communicate respectfully, whatever the problem behavior is or issue is that makes that supervision and support necessary. So we're not saying you're going to DAHAB because you need supervision and support. You're going to DAHAB because you need to build the skills that you need to be free of that supervision and support. Does that help clarify?
I think so.
Why do I need the service?
Yeah.
What am I going to learn? What am I going to do? How am I going to spend my time?
And I think your feedback and guidance around the COVID restriction stuff just prompted a couple more questions around. I'll lump them all together though. So how does the member who wants competitive integrated employment and or DAHAB, or maybe it's a member that is residing in an ICF, deal with a provider that might be fearful of COVID or is kind of pushing back or dissuading participation in those services? Some folks are seeing some major pushback from ICFs and others in terms of allowing job candidates out into the community.
Mm-hmm. Again, when an ICF ID is a little bit different, because when a member lives in an ICF ID, that ICF ID is responsible to provide active treatment. And part of the active treatment plan is that you have to meet all of the needs that a person has. And so if a member needs employment supports, it would be expected that that ICF ID provides those employment supports. And if that ICF ID can't provide those employment supports, then they'll enter into an agreement with VR or a community resource provider to provide those employment supports. So again, that we pay them a per diem, but they're responsible 100% for everything that that person needs around the clock. If they are, going to school, well, then there's the IEP that talks about how all those things happen while they're in the school environment, right? It's the treatment plan and the active treatment that addresses what that person needs in the ICF ID. So it's a little bit different. The federal regulations are different when it comes to people living in an ICF ID. Basically, that ICF ID is responsible 24 hours a day for whatever the person needs. And if they can't deliver it themselves, they got to go out and get it for the person. And again, has to be documented in that comprehensive person-centered service plan. DIA will look in that service plan to see, how each of those functional areas are being addressed by the provider.
Perfect. So the only other question left is if people have additional questions and clarifications, do you want those to go directly to you, or do you want them funneled through the coalition and passed on, or how do you want that?
I'm okay with it coming through the coalition and all coming through, one avenue works for me too. If there's just weird little nuances that somebody wants to talk through, they can reach out directly to me. I'm okay with that too. Like I said, I've been working on this FAQ as questions come in, and so I'll make that available so we can get that out and get it published too.
Perfect, perfect. And I'll be sure to share the slides back with folks as well as the recording. And I think that's it for today. I think we're wrapped up. LeAnn, thank you so much for your time and expertise.
Welcome.
Thanks everybody for participating and for all the great questions. A great session today. We will be back in March, and let me look at my calendar. I got so caught up in the questions, I forgot to capture that for you. I think we're back on March 16th, but I'll be sure to send that out to the mailing list for clarification. If you already have the 2021 schedule, you'll know what date that is and the topic coming up and your registration link, but I'll be sure to get that out as soon as possible. So everybody have a good rest of the week. Stay safe, stay warm, and we'll see you in March. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, LeAnn.